My friends, today I want to speak to you about something that touches every heart in this room: restoring bonds. We live in a world where relationships are fractured, where families are torn apart, where friendships dissolve over misunderstandings, and where bitterness takes root in the soul. But I tell you today, it does not have to healing a way to mend what has been broken. And that path begins with a willing heart. Reconciliation is a powerful force that has the ability to heal wounds, restore broken relationships, and bring people back together after division. It is not merely an act of saying, "I'm sorry" or "I forgive you." It is a deep, intentional effort to rebuild trust and reestablish connections that have been damaged. In a world where conflicts arise in families, friendships, and communities, reconciliation is not just an option, it is a necessity. When people choose reconciliation, they choose healing over hurt, unity over division, and love over resentment. One of the most challenging aspects of reconciliation is acknowledging the brokenness that exists. Many people live with fractured relationships for years, sometimes even decades, without taking the necessary steps to mend them. They may hold on to pride, pain, or the belief that the other person must make the first move. But true reconciliation does not begin with the other person. It begins with a heart willing to change. It requires humility, a willingness to listen, and the courage to take responsibility where necessary. Reconciliation is not about proving who was right or wrong. It is about valuing the relationship more than the conflict. When a bond is broken, the pain can linger like an open wound. Bitterness can take root, growing deeper with time, making reconciliation seem impossible. But bitterness never leads to peace. It only leads to further separation. Many people believe that avoiding a problem will make it disappear, but in reality, avoidance only makes it worse. The longer a relationship remains broken, the harder it becomes to restore. However, when someone takes the first step towards reconciliation, no matter how small, it can begin to melt away years of resentment and hurt. Forgiveness plays a central role in the process of reconciliation. Without forgiveness, restoration is impossible. But forgiveness does not mean ignoring the pain or pretending that nothing happened. It means choosing to let go of the burden of anger and allowing healing to take place. Forgiveness is not a sign of weakness. It is an act of strength. It is saying, "I will not let this hurt control me any longer." Forgiveness frees both the giver and the receiver, allowing both to move forward without the weight of past mistakes dragging them down. There are countless stories of reconciliation that have transformed lives. Families that were torn apart by years of misunderstanding have been reunited. Lifelong friends who had grown distant due to unresolved conflicts have found their way back to each other. Communities divided by hatred have come together in peace. These stories remind us that reconciliation is not just a distant hope. It is a real and powerful force that can change lives. But it takes a willing heart, a step of faith, and a commitment to restoration. Pride often stands as the greatest barrier to reconciliation. People struggle to admit when they are wrong, and sometimes, even when they are not entirely at fault, they find it difficult to extend an olive branch. But pride destroys relationships while humility rebuilds them. The ability to say, "I value this relationship more than my pride," is one of the most significant steps toward restoration. Humility does not mean demeaning oneself or accepting blame where it is not due. It means being open to reconciliation and showing grace even when it is hard. Reconciliation also requires patience. Healing takes time, and rebuilding trust does not happen overnight. When a bond has been broken, there may be scars that need time to heal. People often expect immediate results, but reconciliation is a journey, not a moment. It may take multiple conversations, acts of kindness, and genuine efforts before full restoration occurs, but each step, no matter how small, moves a relationship closer to healing. Another essential element in reconciliation: many conflicts arise from misunderstandings, miscommunications, or assumptions that were never clarified. Open and honest dialogue is key to restoring a broken bond. It is not about arguing or defending one's position, but about listening and understanding the other person's perspective. When both sides feel heard and respected, reconciliation becomes possible. At the heart of reconciliation is Love has the power to overcome even the deepest wounds. Love does not keep a record of wrongs or hold grudges. It seeks to heal, to unite, and to bring peace. When someone chooses reconciliation, they choose love over division. They choose to mend rather than to break further. They choose to restore rather than to walk away. Reconciliation is a choice that requires courage, humility, forgiveness, patience, and love. It is not always easy and it is not always quick, but it is always worth it. When people seek reconciliation, they find not only restored relationships, but also peace within themselves. The burden of bitterness is lifted and the joy of connection is restored. It is a process that brings healing, not just to individuals, but to families, friendships, and communities. Forgiveness is the foundation of restoring broken bonds. It is a powerful yet often misunderstood concept. Many people struggle with forgiveness because they equate it with forgetting the wrongs done to them or excusing harmful behavior. But true forgiveness is not about erasing the past. It is about releasing its hold on the present. It is about choosing peace over pain, healing over hurt, and love over resentment. Without forgiveness, relationships cannot be restored, and broken bonds remain broken. One of the greatest obstacles to forgiveness is the natural human tendency to hold on to anger. When someone is wronged, it is easy to build walls around the heart, to guard against further pain. People often feel justified in their bitterness, believing that withholding forgiveness gives them power over the person who hurt them. But in reality, bitterness does not imprison the offender, it imprisons the one who holds it. Anger and resentment weigh heavily on the soul, creating an emotional burden that prevents true peace and joy. The only way to be free from this burden is to let go, to forgive, and to move forward. Forgiveness is not a sign of weakness. It takes great strength to look beyond one's own pain and extend grace to another. Many people believe that forgiving someone means approving of their wrongdoing or allowing them to continue their harmful actions. But forgiveness does not mean allowing toxic behavior to continue. It does not mean pretending that nothing happened. Instead, it means choosing not to let the past dictate the future. It means recognizing that holding on to resentment only causes more harm. In many cases, forgiveness must come even when the other person has not apologized. People wait for the offender to make the first move, believing that an apology is necessary for healing to begin. But the truth is, some apologies never come. Some people are unaware of the pain they have caused, and some may never acknowledge their wrongs. If forgiveness is withheld until an apology is received, the wounded person remains trapped in bitterness. But when forgiveness is given freely, regardless of whether it is asked for, it brings freedom and healing to the one who chooses to forgive. There is also a personal dimension to forgiveness that many overlook. Often, people carry guilt and regret over their own mistakes, struggling to forgive themselves. They replay past failures in their minds, allowing shame to weigh them down. But just as forgiving others brings freedom, forgiving oneself is essential for inner peace. Everyone makes mistakes, and no one is beyond redemption. Holding on to self-condemnation does nothing but prevent growth. The same grace that is extended to others must also be extended inward. Forgiveness is a process. It does not always happen instantly, and it is not always easy. Deep wounds take time to heal, and there may be moments when old hurts resurface. Choosing to forgive once does not mean the pain will never return, but each time it does, the choice to forgive must be made again. Over time, the grip of bitterness loosens, and the heart becomes lighter. Another challenge to forgiveness is the fear of vulnerability. When someone has been deeply hurt, they may feel that forgiving means making themselves open to being hurt again. It is natural to want to protect oneself from further pain, but forgiveness does not mean ignoring wisdom. It is possible to forgive someone while also setting healthy boundaries. Restoration of a relationship does not always mean returning to the way things were before. Sometimes it means establishing a new, healthier dynamic that prevents further harm. Forgiveness also has the power to break cycles of pain. Many conflicts between individuals, families, and even entire communities are passed down through generations. Old grievances are kept alive, and resentment is taught rather than healed. But when one person chooses forgiveness, they break the cycle. They choose peace instead of continuing the chain of anger and retaliation. Their choice has the potential to inspire others, creating ripples of healing that extend far beyond themselves. In every meaningful relationship, forgiveness will eventually be necessary. No two people are perfect, and misunderstandings, mistakes, and even betrayals will occur. Without forgiveness, relationships cannot survive. Holding on to past wrongs only widens the divide between people, making reconciliation impossible. But when forgiveness is given, it creates a bridge, allowing people to reconnect and rebuild what was broken. Choosing forgiveness is choosing freedom. It is choosing to let go of pain rather than carrying it forward. It is choosing love over resentment, healing over hurt, and peace over conflict. It is not always easy, and it is not always quick, but it is always worth it. Love is the most powerful force in restoring broken relationships. It has the ability to heal wounds, mend broken hearts, and overcome the deepest divisions. When relationships are fractured by misunderstandings, betrayal, or pride, love is the key that holds them together. Love is not just a feeling, it is an intentional choice, a commitment to seek peace and understanding, even in difficult situations. It does not look for revenge or seek to prove superiority. Instead, it chooses unity over division, reconciliation over resentment, and grace over judgment. Without love, no relationship can truly be restored, and without restoration, people remain trapped in cycles of pain and isolation. One of the most important aspects of love in restoring bonds is its ability to break down barriers. Many relationships suffer because of pride, anger, or fear. People build emotional walls to protect themselves from further hurt. But those walls also keep love out. They prevent communication, understanding, and healing. Love has the power to break through those barriers, but it requires humility. It requires a willingness to let go of the need to be right, to listen instead of argue, and to care more about the relationship than winning a dispute. When love is prioritized, pride loses its hold, and true connection becomes possible. Love also requires sacrifice. Restoring broken bonds often demands giving up something, whether it be resentment, selfish desires, or the need to control a situation. True love is not about personal gain, but about seeking the best for the other person. This kind of love is not based on conditions or expectations, but is given freely, even when it is difficult. In many cases, relationships remain broken because neither party is willing to make the first move. Each person waits for the other to apologize or to change. But love does not wait, it acts. It reaches out, even when it is not easy, because the value of the relationship is greater than the discomfort of taking the first step. Patience is another essential part of love in the process of restoration. Healing takes time, and rebuilding trust does not happen overnight. Many people expect immediate results when they try to restore a relationship, but love does not operate on a schedule. It understands that wounds take time to heal and that people need space to process emotions. Love remains constant even when progress is slow. It does not rush or pressure, but allows healing to happen naturally. When love is patient, it creates an environment where both sides feel safe to open up, express their feelings, and work through challenges without fear of judgment. Empathy is another crucial element of love in restoring broken relationships. Many conflicts arise because people fail to see the other person's perspective. They focus on their own pain, their own frustrations, and their own experiences without considering how the other person feels. But love seeks to understand. It listens not just to respond, but to truly hear the heart of the other person. When people take the time to see through another's eyes, they often realize that many conflicts are based on misunderstandings rather than true malice. Empathy fosters compassion, and compassion leads to healing. Love is also a bridge to forgiveness. Holding on to grudges keeps relationships broken, but love softens the heart, making forgiveness possible. Love does not ignore past mistakes, but it refuses to let them define the future. It chooses to see the best in others rather than focusing on their worst moments. When love leads the way, forgiveness follows and reconciliation becomes possible. Love does not erase pain, but it gives the strength to move beyond it. to choose healing over hurt, and to rebuild what was lost. Another important aspect of love in restoring bonds is consistency. Many people attempt to reconcile a relationship, but give up when the process becomes difficult. Love is not just a one-time gesture. It is a continuous commitment. It does not fade when challenges arise or when things do not go as planned. Love continues to show up, to give, to support, and to work toward healing, even when progress seems slow. This kind of unwavering love creates stability and reassures the other person that the relationship is worth fighting for. Love also brings peace. When relationships are strained, there's often tension, anxiety, and an underlying sense of unease. But when love is reintroduced, it brings a sense of calm. It removes hostility, replaces fear with trust, and turns conflict into cooperation. Even in situations where full reconciliation is not possible, love allows people to part ways with understanding rather than bitterness. It brings closure, healing, and a sense of resolution that anger and resentment can never provide. No matter how broken a relationship may seem, love always provides hope. It reminds people that restoration is possible, that no conflict is too great to overcome, and that true connection can be rebuilt. Love does not deny the difficulties of reconciliation, but faces them with strength and courage. It provides the motivation to keep going, to keep trying, and to keep believing that healing can take place. Communication is the bridge that reconnects broken bonds. When misunderstandings, conflicts, or emotional wounds arise, they often stem from a lack of clear and honest communication. Without it, assumptions take root, resentment grows, and distance forms between individuals. Restoring a relationship requires not only speaking, but also listening, not only expressing, but also understanding. True communication is more than just words. It is the willingness to be open, vulnerable, and intentional about rebuilding what has been lost. One of the greatest challenges in communication is overcoming pride. Many people struggle to admit when they are wrong or to acknowledge the pain they have caused. Instead of having an open dialogue, they become defensive, shifting blame, or shutting down completely. Pride creates walls where there should be bridges. Humility, on the other hand, allows communication to flow freely. It makes room for honest conversations where both parties can express their thoughts and feelings without fear of judgment or rejection. When pride is set aside, healing can begin. Active listening is another crucial element of communication in restoring relationships. Often people listen only to respond rather than to understand. They focus on preparing their next argument instead of truly hearing what the other person is saying. But healing cannot take place without genuine understanding. Active listening requires patience, attentiveness, and an open heart. It means setting aside personal assumptions and truly considering the other person's perspective. When people feel heard and valued, they are more likely to open up and work toward reconciliation. Honesty is also essential in rebuilding trust. Many relationships break down because of dishonesty, whether it be lies, half-truths, or unspoken feelings. When someone hides their true emotions or fails to communicate openly, it creates distance. Restoring a broken bond requires transparency, even when the truth is difficult to share. Honest communication does not mean being harsh or insensitive, but rather speaking with sincerity and kindness. It means expressing feelings, fears, and frustrations in a way that fosters understanding rather than deepening wounds. Without honesty, reconciliation remains impossible. Nonverbal communication plays a significant role in restoring relationships as well. A person's body language, tone of voice, and facial expressions often say more than words ever could. A closed posture, crossed arms, or an impatient sigh can send a message of resistance or unwillingness to reconcile. On the other hand, eye contact, a gentle tone, and an open posture signal a readiness to reconnect. When trying to restore a relationship, it is important to be mindful of these unspoken signals. They can either reinforce a message of love and reconciliation or create further barriers to healing. Another challenge in communication is overcoming past wounds. When a relationship has been broken, Old hurts can resurface during conversations, making it difficult to move forward. Words spoken in anger or frustration can reopen wounds that were thought to be healed. This is why patience is necessary. Rebuilding trust takes time, and difficult conversations should be handled with care rather than focusing on past mistakes. Effective communication looks toward the future, seeking solutions instead of dwelling on blame. Empathy plays a crucial role in communication. When people are hurt, they often become focused on their own pain, making it difficult to see the other person's side. But true healing requires understanding both perspectives. Empathy allows people to step into each other's shoes, to recognize the emotions and experiences that have shaped their actions. When both sides feel seen and understood, reconciliation becomes much more attainable. It is through empathy that walls of resentment begin to crumble, replaced by compassion and a desire to rebuild. Timing is another important aspect of communication and restoring relationships. Not every conversation should happen immediately. When emotions are high, words can be spoken in haste, causing more damage than healing. Choosing the right time to communicate allows for a more productive and heartfelt conversation. Sometimes stepping back and allowing emotions to settle creates a space where discussions can take place with greater clarity and understanding. Communication should never be forced, but should happen when both parties are ready to engage with sincerity. Forgiveness and communication go hand in hand. No matter how well a conversation goes, if forgiveness is withheld, healing cannot fully take place. Words alone cannot mend a broken bond. There must be a willingness to let go of past hurts and move forward. Communication opens the door for reconciliation, but forgiveness is what allows people to walk through it. When both sides commit to speaking with honesty, listening with empathy, and forgiving with grace, relationships have the opportunity to be restored. The power of communication is undeniable. It is the key that unlocks healing, the bridge that reconnects hearts, and the foundation upon which broken bonds can be rebuilt. When people choose to communicate with love, humility, and honesty, even the deepest wounds can begin to heal. Restoring bonds is not an easy journey, but it is one worth taking. It requires forgiveness to release past hurts, love to heal wounds, and communication to rebuild trust. These three elements work together to mend what has been broken, allowing relationships to thrive once again. Forgiveness frees the heart from resentment. Love bridges the gap between divided souls, and communication fosters understanding and growth. No matter how damaged a relationship may seem, restoration is always possible when there's a genuine commitment to healing. It takes patience, humility, and a willingness to move forward, but the reward is a renewed connection filled with peace, understanding, and deeper love. May you find the strength to forgive, the courage to love, and the wisdom to communicate with sincerity. As you work to restore the bonds in your life, may you be blessed with healing and joy. Good luck, and thank you for taking the time to reflect on the power of reconciliation. May your journey toward restored relationships be filled with grace and peace.